Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, or good night, depending on where you're at. Welcome to this week's Quantum Alignment Show, where we are now going through part 2 of the planets and 2019. And I had so much fun going through all this, so I hope you guys have as much fun as I do. I have tons and tons and tons and tons of notes, which I hope I don't get out of order because they're really messy. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the slideshow. But before I do, there's a couple of things I just want to point you towards as resources, and I'll be referring back and forth to those over the course of our show today. So first of all, just wanted to let you know the 2019 Human Design Evolution Guide, which is a weekly, actually it's a little less than weekly because the solar gates move about every 6 days. It's a sort of almost weekly journaling program for you to use to help you get the most out of the transits for the year. It includes information about the themes of the solar eclipses and the lunar eclipses, as well as the gates of the sun. So if you go to our website, quantumalignmentsystem.com, and kind of scroll down on the bottom left-hand side, you'll see where you can click on the book and order your copy. The second thing that I just want to point out is this is going to be a long version of what's up for 2019. If you want the super condensed version, which also has some other bits of information in it, I do have a free 4-part video series that I'm doing. The videos are short, they're about 10 minutes, that are giving you an overview of what's up in 2019, what skill sets do you need to have in place to get the most out of 2019, why connecting to your intuition is so important in 2019, and what you can do to deepen your connection to your own inner wisdom, and what other things you can expect in 2019. So if you want to get those, if you have access to those 4-part videos, Kristen will post the link in the chat and on Facebook. Do you have that link, Kristen? I don't think I gave it to you, but I bet you can.
No, I have it. I have it.
Okay, cool. I figured you had it. So that's, we have released video 1. I'll release video 2 on Monday. That's just to kind of keep you ready to go for 2019, because we have this really nice window before 2019 until December 27 to really explore how we want to get ourselves ready for this next new year with this new vibe of momentum that's coming in. So I want you to start getting ready now so that you can really have a great year and be nicely positioned over the course of the planetary transits for the year to make the most out of 2019. So without further ado, let's get started. We've been talking about, hold on. Waiting for the buttons to move. We have been talking about, from last week, 2019 and what to expect. We are going to be talking today about the planets. Now, I might go back to this slide at the end, but I'm just going to show you. These are our themes for today. This is from geneticmatrix.com, which is a great place. If you go to their homepage, on the bottom kind of right-hand side, they have what's called a just now chart, or the chart of the current neutrino weather, the current celestial weather happening right now. I want to just, as we go through this, point something out to you. If you look at the chart tells you, if you're a really visual person and you just want to go, okay, what's transiting right now, and you don't really care what planet it's in, you just want to know how's this going to impact my chart, which is what we talked about last week. So if you don't know how to look at this in the context of your personal chart, go watch last week's show. If you're on Facebook and you go over to the left and click on the video tab, it'll take you to a whole page of videos, and the most current show is on the very top left-hand side. So you go through that and you can explore how this actually impacts your personal chart. For what we're going to talk about today, I want you to look at the right-hand side of this image. You'll see, and I know it's kind of hard to see. Hopefully you guys can see it better than I can see it because I don't have my glasses on because I don't know where I put them. So I'm guessing. But on the right-hand side, there are these little black icons. And if you look inside each of the icons, there's a tiny little planetary symbol, which I'll walk you through today. And then underneath it, there's a gate. And it'll say like 26.6.6. Don't worry about the second point number, or don't worry about the little point numbers. We're not going to worry about those today. just look at the big number on the left, and that's going to give you the gate that each planet is lighting up. So when we look at the celestial weather and we look at the transits, basically what's happening is, you can imagine, and I should have put this in the slides, but I didn't, but if you can imagine that each of the 64 gates in the human design system, which are loosely, actually pretty strongly correlated to the gates or the hexagrams from the Chinese I Ching, the planets, including the sun and the earth, the planets take turns, depending on how fast or slow they move, lighting up the different gates. So each gate, there are 64 gates, each gate represents a specific archetype or a specific personality trait or a theme that is part of all of us. We all have all of the 64 themes and more within us. When those themes get lit up by a planet and we look at what does that planet mean, because the planets themselves also have their own energies, which is what we're going to talk about today, it helps you understand kind of what's up for us individually and collectively on the planet thematically. Those themes bring us opportunities to grow, to evolve, to expand, to go beyond what we think is possible, and to bring out the fullest expression of the potential of who we are. So just to make it kind of simple today, if you were looking at today's transits, you would see that the sun is still in the gate. No, actually, this was this morning. I suspect it's actually moved. But in this particular snapshot, the sun is in the 26 in line 6. Pretty sure it's already in the 11. 26 in line 6, the Earth is in the gate 45. So as we go through this, that would give you a lot of insight. Having just that bit of information would give you a lot of insight into knowing what's up on the planet right now. So as we finish up dealing with the 26, which is brought to us all week, and if you're in America, this is so interesting the way this has evolved this week, it's brought to us all week the theme of truth or not, integrity or not. And on a collective level, we've been exploring that theme both in our personal lives, and obviously if you look at the news, even in our collective lives, we were having a lot of cover pulling and revealing around the theme of truth and integrity. As we move into the gate 11 later today, or maybe even already today, let's see what time it moves today. I don't know exactly what time it moves, but probably it's already moved, I believe. But sun is going to move into gate 11 at some point today, and that shifts that energy away from truth into an energy of a rejuvenation of our ideas. We're being brought all kinds of new ideas, and we're opening our minds to possibilities. Now, the purpose of that energy is not for you to get an idea and go out and make it happen. The purpose of that energy in the sun is for you to see your ideas as seeds, for you to imagine the possibilities with those seeds, and to use your imagination to stimulate an emotional response, to use that emotional response, which you don't have to do this consciously. It happens naturally. It's hardwired into our biology. Your imagination triggers emotions. Those emotions calibrate your heart. And what we know in human design is that this heart of who you are is a magnet that then attracts into your reality things that match the quality of the frequency of energy that your emotions are bringing. So it's a really, really creative cycle for the next 6 days for us to dance with the seeds of our ideas and to use those ideas to open up our minds to what else is possible for ourselves and our lives. That was a brief introduction to next week's transit report. So let's talk about the planets, and let's talk about, first and foremost, let's talk about the sun. Whatever is in the sun, or rather whatever the sun is lighting up, whichever gate is being lit up, is a big part of what we're expressing out into the world. The sun brings us powerful themes. This is a very young or archetypically masculine energy. It's what we're putting out into the world. So whatever the sun transits or whatever the sun lights up, we are putting out into the world. So we're putting out ideas into the world, and we are inspiring each other this week as the sun moves through the gate 11. Whatever is in the earth, and by the way, you can also just look at this simply even in your own natal chart without looking at the transits. This just explains a little bit about what do the planets mean in your chart. Whatever is in the earth is what grounds us, and to a certain degree, it's what we are designed to receive to support us in our evolution during this cycle. So The Earth, when the sun moves into the gate 11, the Earth is moving into the gate 12, or lighting up the gate 12, which means what's grounding us is caution. What's grounding us is waiting for the right time. So we have all these ideas, but we're grounded in the awareness that maybe it's not the right time, but we're starting the process of opening up to possibilities, which is a perfect energy to end the year with, which is the energy we kind of end the year with every year, and sets us up to begin to be ready for the next calendar year. The sun and the earth move through, or go around this, go through the entire 64 hexagrams over the course of a year. So over the course of a year, the sun and the earth will both visit all of the 64 gates. They stay in a gate for approximately 6 days. So every 6 days, these themes change. So the sun and the earth light up all 64 gates over the course of a year, and they transit about every 6 days, which is, again, when you have this, the evolution guide, you can kind of flip through here and you can consciously work with the energy of the sun every 6 days to explore that archetype, which is kind of cool because you get to explore all the archetypes consciously over the course of a year, helping you bring out, as I said, the highest expression of the truth of who you are. The moon, which is the next planet on the chart, the moon is what drives us. So whatever is in the moon in your natal chart is part of what drives you. Sometimes we say it's what drives you crazy, okay? Because it's a push, it's a pressure sometimes what the moon is telling us to do. It's giving us a drive in our natal chart. And as we use the moons, and actually we use the moon, the full moons and the new moons in the 2019 guide, you can work with the energy of the moon and explore, particularly when we have a new moon, what gate is the new moon playing with, and because the new moon is always about new beginnings, you can start to look at the theme of the new moon or the gate of the new moon and really look at what is this new moon bringing me. Last Friday, when Mercury went direct, we also had a new moon, and the new moon, not surprisingly, was also in the gate 26, the gate of truth and lies, or the truth and integrity gate. So we entered into a lunar cycle last Friday that lasts for 4 weeks. That is giving us a 4-week umbrella of really exploring in depth the nature of truth and integrity in our personal lives. And it's it was a very powerful new moon, a very groundbreaking kind of foundation laying new moon last Friday, and certainly a new moon that, as I said, is continuing to stir in our collective this whole idea of what's true and what's not, which is a theme that we play with on many, many levels in the current celestial weather. The moon will light up all 64 gates over the course of approximately 28 days. So the moon moves pretty quickly. It moves through all 64 gates over the course of 28 days. So the movement of the moon is pretty fast, and it brings us short little temporal themes. If you want to really work with the energy of the moon, I recommend working with the new moon and the full moon and really exploring what gets lit up, what gates get lit up by the full moon and the new moon. And I did lay that out in the evolution guide because that's certainly something I do personally, and I encourage my clients and my students to do that as well. The nodes are the two little horseshoe looking things like this in your chart. The north node in your natal chart represents the theme for the second half of your life, or the theme of your life that starts at a cycle called the Uranus opposition, which means it's the time when Uranus is completely at the other side of the astrological wheel that it was at the moment of your birth. So it's halfway through its journey around your whole chart. This is the north node. It gets activated, this theme gets activated when you turn approximately 40. So this is the theme of your maturity. This is what you're moving towards or growing towards over the course of your life. So if you look at the south node theme, which is your youthful theme in your chart, and that's the bottom one, the south node theme is what you're breathing in and what you're starting and what you're beginning your journey of maturity with. This is the theme of your youth, moving to the north node theme, which is what you grow into as you mature. When we look at that in the context of the transits, The nodes set the themes within which we grow for the year. They're like bookends, and within those bookends, the north node and the south node, or the south node and the north node, we see the themes that we're within which we're growing for the year. Usually the nodes will stay in one astrological sign for about a year to a year and a half. We have definitely been exploring the 56 and the 60 off and on almost all year this year, giving us the drive or the theme right now of digging deep, looking at what is working in our lives, making sure that as we go through a cycles of transformation, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and exploring based on what is working, what we need to do to make sure that the narratives or the stories we tell about who we are really true and really foster the growth of what is working in our lives rather than holding us back and keeping us stuck in old patterns. So we've been playing with the 56-60, which we continue to do at the beginning of next year. In February of 2019, we moved to the themes of the 62 and the 61 in the nodes, bringing us this deep potential for mystical and spiritual awareness and finding practical ways to bring our spiritual understandings into our life. So we're going to practice next year with some deep spiritual themes in the nodes. We're going to practice finding practical ways to apply our spiritual knowledge. On April the 25th, the nodes move again into the 53 and the 54, two energies that are initiating energies in the chart. So we get a momentum coming in the spring at the end of Aries season, or actually it's kind of the beginning of Taurus season. We start to get this energy that's about starting anew, putting things into action, taking divine spark and really tending to the seeds of our inspiration and seeds of our enlightenment and taking care of those seeds, sort of a springtime energy here of really looking at what do I need to do to cultivate the seeds of my inspiration. We tend to those seeds and we grow and we begin this cycle of initiation and step into it strongly until September 16th, when we have another nodal shift we go from the 53 and the 54 to the 39 and the 38 in the nodes, a little bit of a dodgy energy. This is the energy of provocation and fighting. So I certainly would say that there is potentially from September to November a theme of us wrestling and struggling and provoking a little bit. That is the low end of the potential of that theme. The high end is that from provocation and tension, we become inspired around what is truly worth fighting for, and we begin to get super selective towards the fall of next year about where we really want to put our energy and our efforts. So we've been sowing these seeds, spreading the seeds, taking care of the seeds. Now we move into harvest season, and now we start exploring, what are the things that we really want to keep growing? Where do we really want to put our energy? Which crops are really worth investing our time and our energy into? And in November, for the rest of the year, the nodes move into the 52 and the 58, giving us the capacity to see the big picture and to continue through our own process of repetition and fine-tuning and practicing and reaching towards mastery, creating higher levels of joy in our lives. And we kind of end the year with this joyful theme. So all of this growth and seed laying that we do next year ultimately moves us towards a higher phase or a higher state of mastery as we go to the end of the year, and we get a lot more clear about what's really going on in the big picture. Mercury is our planet of communication. So whatever is in Mercury in your chart is what you're here to talk about in your life. This is what you're here to communicate to the world in your life. And so when you look at this in your natal chart, if you were in business for yourself and you were an entrepreneur, I might look at what's your Mercury position, because that's going to tell me a lot about what words do you need to use in your marketing so that your marketing is in alignment with your authentic self. We have next year a very beautiful and fun event. We have what's called a Mercury Transit on November 11th through 12th, and it goes through in that cycle through gates 43 and 1. So it's actually transiting the sun, meaning astronomically, not astrologically. It's actually passing in front of the sun. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but it'll be cool. This is a rare astronomical event that only happens 13 times a century. Okay, so you get to be lucky next year. The gate 43 and the gate 1, they're kind of mirrors to each other. These are both deeply mutative energies. These are energies that bring change. And they are energies that bring change, that change the nature of our mindset. So I think we're in a really interesting place where during this cycle, I think we have the potential for some very interesting transformative energies and events happening during this time that are really going to change the way we think about things, change our mindsets enough, significantly enough to where we begin to explore more deeply what is the contribution that we seek to make in the world. What do we want to give back to the world? Venus is the planet that represents your values. It also tells us a lot about your relationship energy, particularly if you are attracted to women romantically. So Venus will tell you a lot about if you're attracted, if you're attracted to women, sorry, I always get that mixed up, then Venus is going to tell you a lot about your relationship dynamics and maybe what goes on for you thematically in relationships or what you're attracted to in relationships. It's also the place where we carry the theme of our values. So whatever is in your Venus and whatever Venus is lighting up in your natal chart is what you value. It might be about your romantic dynamics. It's also what you find beautiful and what you cherish in your life. Venus goes around the entire mandala, the human design mandala, or it visits all 64 of the human design gates about every 225 days. So we see over the course of a year and a little bit, Venus goes through all the gates. So that's really all I want to say to you, except when you're looking at the transit report, or you go to the Just Now chart. So let's just do this practically so you get some application here. I'm going to go back to this chart up here. If we look at the Just Now chart from this morning, we would see that Venus was lighting up the gate 44. I know, again, hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully I'm reading that right because I don't know where my glasses are, but I think it says Venus in the gate 44, which means we are valuing what has come before, and we are exploring in our values, we're looking at the patterns that establish value in our lives. And when we understand the patterns that bring us the greatest value, those are patterns that allow us to transform pain into something beautiful. That's really kind of the exploration we're on with Venus right now. And it's inviting us, Venus is inviting us to look at, are your values the values you really hold true right now? Or are the values that you're holding right now perhaps rooted in old patterns? And do you need to change your old patterns around what you value so that you can construct a framework in your life about what you really want, so that when you move into 2019, you've got your value system in place. You're not living out old, outdated values, things that you don't really value anymore. You're moving past the old stories of your pain. You're writing a new story that turns your pain into power. And then you are crafting a value system and a lifestyle that reflects the value of you standing strongly in your power, liberated from your old patterns. So you're no longer reacting, but creating deliberately, meaning you're liberated from past patterns. And if I'm doing this super fast and you're like, I don't know how she got that, give yourself time. Give yourself time to sit with each of those gates and look at what does the planet mean and what does the planet hold. And then start thinking about, this is just basic storytelling skills. Please remember that I've been doing this for more than 20 years. So if I can do this super fast, it's because I've been doing this for a long time. Some of you, this might be new. So give yourself the gift of being kind to yourself, and give yourself the gift of looking at the theme of the planet. So in this case, the theme of the planet is values. And then looking at the theme of the gate that's being lit up right now. In this case, the 44. And then explore how does the theme of values and the theme of breaking free from the patterns of the past, how do those two themes play together? And if you want to learn more about the gates, I encourage you to get a copy of my book, Understanding Human Design, where I go through all the gates for, as I said, The 2019 transit guide actually goes through all the gates, not in order, but in the order in which the sun transits them. And of course, there are also some really great human design teachers out there that have created some wonderful, wonderful books about the themes of the gates in human design. Chetan Parkin has a great book. Richard Rudd does the gene keys, which is a very different interpretation of this material, but a very beautiful version of this material too. So please, please, please explore all the human design teachers out there, because there are a lot of really great teachers out there that have a lot to share. And you may find that you get the answer you're looking for from, lots of different teachers. And I encourage you to really cultivate your own understanding of the gates and the channels. Mars, sometimes called the planet of war, is a place where we have youthful lessons. It's a place where through our youth, especially, we grow into the mature expression. If you are attracted to men, this is also a planetary position that will oftentimes tell you a lot about your relationship with men. And it will tell you, again, what you really like and what are you attracted to in your relationship with men. Mars can sometimes bring us tension. The energy of Mars, especially depending on where it's placed, can bring tension because it is a youthful kind of an energy that needs maturity to be expressed in its highest level. It needs tempering. If you think about the energy of war, war isn't something that you want to react with. It's something that needs to be a conscious and deliberate act that's about setting a boundary and holding a boundary or defending a value of some kind, right? You don't want to go to war because you had a bad day. So Mars requires of us to take a breath and to be merciful in our response to whatever is arising in the Mars theme in the celestial weather. Mars lights up the gates, every gate, all the gates, over the course of 687 days. So it takes 2 years, más o menos, for Mars to go through all of the 64 gates. Again, you will see a lot of movement with Mars. I would say certainly this year we'll still see some tension in the Mars placement in January, February, March. And I think, we're already feeling a lot of tension from Mars placements right now, but, go check the daily transit report, go explore where is Mars right now, what's it doing, why, what dirt is it kicking up for us to pay attention to. If we look at the transits for today, Mars is transiting the 22, which is grace, which is a good place for Mars to be. So the gate 22 brings us the awareness that if we manage our emotions consciously and deliberately, and we take that pause, that breath, that caution, and we hold that caution, even though it activates a lot of potential for emotional energy, that emotional energy can be used to create peace. Can be used to create peace and alignment with abundance. So when we take that pause, that merciful breath, and we temper our response, and then we choose consciously, how do I want to respond? Do I want to respond with love? Do I want to respond with war? When we really get clear about how do we want to respond, then we have the energy with grace to enact whatever mercy or compassion we want to put out into the world. Jupiter is our planet of blessings. Now we are moving into what I like to call the outer planets. So the sun, the earth, the moon, the nodes to a certain degree, but the nodes could be more expansive. Mercury, Venus, and Mars are faster moving planets. They tend to be what I call the personal planets. And oftentimes the themes that play out in those planets, sun, earth, Mercury, Venus, Mars, they tend to be more personal themes that we deal with in our own life. The outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, these outer planets set the stage for our collective evolution. And we tend to see the outer planets not only bring us personal themes, they will impact your personal life, but they also tend to be themes that we see lived out in the collective, and they set the stage for what are we evolving towards in the collective. So Jupiter is our planet of blessings, and whatever is in your Jupiter chart, in your natal position in your chart, whatever Jupiter is lighting up, that's a place where you are designed to be blessed or to receive blessings, provided you are living true to who you are. If you're not living an authentic life, you will probably be experiencing in some way, shape, or form the lower expression of all of the gates in your chart, simply because we're designed to push against ourselves over the course of our lives to grow, to expand, and to ultimately learn how to be the fullest expression of who we are over the course of our lifetime as we mature. Jupiter is the place where you receive your blessings. It takes Jupiter about 12 years to move through all of the 64 gates. So basically, if you are familiar with astrology, basically Jupiter goes through one sign per year, okay? From November 8th, 2018, that's this year, until December 2nd, 2019, Jupiter is in Sagittarius. So bringing blessings to all of you who are born under the sign of Sagittarius. This is a very auspicious cycle for you, one that happens every 12 years. It lights up the gates 34. These are the Sagittarius gates, the 34, the 9, the 5, the 26, the 11, and the 10. And if you followed what was going on during our most recent Mercury retrograde, you will see that many of the planets that Mercury retrograde, this most recent cycle was exploring, are represented here in this Jupiter cycle too, which I'm telling you this because when you start to look at planetary cycles, you will see that we often have big overarching cycles that are repeated in smaller cycles. So if you think about the Earth and the Moon and the Sun and Mercury and Venus, those have much shorter cycles. And then these bigger outer planets, because they take longer to go through all of the 64 gates, they have longer cycles. The faster moving planets tend to give us mini cycles within the larger cycles. And when we look at the larger cycles, it often gives us an insight into what's the purpose of the mini cycle. Don't worry about that right now. I'm just telling you that for the sake of interest. Don't start exploring your chart and going and trying to figure out all these cycles within cycles. There are lots of cycles in life cycle, in astrology, and in humanity. So just know that the bigger cycles set the tone for our collective evolution. The bottom line is this. Jupiter next year is teaching us that when we understand the true nature of power, and power is a big conversation we're having on a collective level right now. When we understand what we need to focus on, when we recognize that we are subject to the rhythm of nature, like it or not, that as human beings, we cannot defy the rhythms of nature, and we must have habits and patterns that align with natural order. When we are in alignment with truth and integrity, when we use our ideas to stimulate and open ourselves up to greater possibilities, and we love ourselves and each other, then the capacity for us to draw into our experience greater blessings goes up exponentially. So Jupiter's really inviting us to explore and to get real about what's our place in the cosmos, what is our place on the planet, how do we tap into power that's rooted in integrity, how do we structure our collective lives and our personal lives in such a way that we are starting to build a way of being in the world that is in harmony with nature and each other. And then as we move towards the end of the year, how do we use this harmony that we have with nature and the new ideas that we have to extend the love that we have with ourselves to the love that we want to share with others. So a beautiful, beautiful year that really, again, invites us into deeply exploring what's necessary for us to feel powerful in the world in a way that isn't going to defy nature and natural order. And not just nature and natural order as if that's something separate from us, but also the nature of humanity. And when we look at the heart of humanity, when we look at the nature of what's defined in the G center, which is the heart of humanity, what we see is that humanity in its highest expression is designed to take its direction from love, from appropriate power, democratic power, that we are designed, each and every one of us, to be a contribution to the world by virtue of being who we are. We are designed to break free from the past and redefine the story of who we are each and every day, however we choose. We are designed to take our direction in life from a deep connection to spirit or source or God or whatever you want to call it. We are designed to be vital and deeply embodied in our physical experience in a juicy and delicious and sensual way. We are designed to receive everything we need to fulfill our life purpose, and we are designed to share. And when we live in accordance with those principles and those energies, then we have really amazing stuff to give back to the world, each and every one of us contributing to the whole. Saturn. Saturn is sometimes called the Great Punisher. I think we talk a lot about Saturn in astrology because when Saturn plays a big, heavy role in your life, and Saturn has some significant life cycles in your life, Saturn tends to impact our charts very deeply at the end of our 20s and at the end of our 50s. And so when we go through a Saturn cycle on a personal level, it oftentimes can feel kind of cataclysmic because Saturn isn't really a punisher. It's actually, Saturn is the energy that burns away the dross. And when you think about the way we used to teach alchemy in the old mystery schools of Alexandria, the alchemists in the mystery schools of Alexandria would invoke the energy of Saturn, fire, to burn away everything that's not necessary to transform, metaphorically, lead into gold, right? So when Saturn comes along, or whatever is in your chart, in your natal chart in the Saturn position, that's an energy that will teach you, that will, if you're out of alignment with what's good for you, if you're not living true to who you really are, Saturn will come along and go beep, 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 and poke you and say, you're way too far off the path. I like to call Saturn the barbed wire fence on the edge of your life path. If you start to get off that path, Saturn's going to poke you so that you get back onto the path. And Saturn will cause you to really evaluate what's valuable. What do I need? What do I need to do to deepen my mastery? How do I need to deepen the expression of the truth of who I am? So when we look at Saturn, we see that it takes Saturn 29 years to light up all the gates. So Saturn has a 29-year cycle. December 19th in 2017 to December 17th, 2020, Saturn is in the sign of Capricorn, visiting Capricorn. So when Saturn visits Capricorn, it brings us a couple of themes. And the first theme is practice makes perfect, which means we are in this big overarching cycle, and we may have felt it very deeply this year, of death and rebirth, death and rebirth, death and rebirth, death and rebirth. We are revisiting and revisiting, and if it has felt to you sometimes in the last few years like you're just going around the same old spiral and you can't seem to quite break free, you make a little bit of progress, but like you keep coming back to the same issue, that's because Saturn is playing this very important role right now that is really, really forcing us to look hard and long in the mirror to see what patterns do you have, do we all have collectively, that are keeping us from experiencing less than what we really want in our lives. Saturn in this position is giving us a powerful opportunity to recalibrate ourselves, and really honestly, and I know we like the phrase in personal growth and development, easy and effortless, right? Just make it easy and effortless. Saturn in this position is not going to be easy and effortless. It's going to be about not taking the easy road, meaning taking the masterful road, making sure that you're really doing your homework and really being clear about what you're telling yourself, what you're telling the world, who you are, making sure you are sitting every morning for 5 minutes even, and really consciously imagining what your life's about and where you're headed and what you really want to create, and cultivating, especially even if you don't know what you want, maybe you're in a state where you're recalculating and recalibrating, at least taking the time to connect with your inner wisdom, yourself, your heart, whatever you need to, so that you've got a consistent practice here that's going to anchor you in the heart of who you are while you explore the themes of the gate 38, the 54, and the 61, which are actually deeply spiritual gates. These are gates that, again, are going to push us in 2019 to ask ourselves, where do I want to put my energy? What do we need to put energy into? And I'm not going to, think about this on a collective level. the collective dialogue in the last few weeks has been rooted in a deep and potentially frightening awareness that the earth itself, our mama earth, is saying, okay, where are you guys going to put your energy? Because we are really changing things in a dramatically fast and unprecedented rate. And we need to change the way we use our energy and what is really worth fighting for in terms of our collective actions. So that's one potential expression of this energy. In our personal lives, again, we're asking ourselves, where do I want to put my energy? Where do I want to put my focus? Where am I pointing my creative power? Which is going to be really important because as Saturn shifts to the 54, then we begin to take that connection that we have with Source. The 54 is the seat of enlightenment in the chart. It's the place where we experience divine spark. And when we have a consistent relationship with the divine, then Saturn brings us the insights necessary and the awarenesses necessary to really implement our spiritual understanding of the world into material form. Again, amplifying this whole theme of Uranus and Taurus, which we'll talk about next in a minute, and that I talked about all last week. So really, really, again, the theme that keeps coming up for next year is pedal to the metal, especially in our spiritual lives. That our spiritual lives that maybe up until the past has been something you do in a retreat or something you do on Friday nights with your friends. You know, something that maybe has been kind of the separate silo of, you know, your spiritual life and then the rest of your life. Next year, we're going to be invited to take that spiritual life and integrate it on a profound level into our daily practice, into the way in which we be in the world, because the solutions that we need, that we're seeking to resolve the challenges facing humanity are going to have to come from a bigger place than the tininess of our human minds. And as we work with these energies, we are really being trained by the planets to deepen our skill set around faith, our creative skill set, our capacity to learn how to use our innate creative power, not just moving the mud in the physical realm, not just doing the work in the physical realm. There's that too. But that for us to maximize the work we do in the physical realm, we have to, in this next year with these celestial transits, marry our spiritual creativity with our human creativity so that we are in a very conscious and very practiced state of deliberate co-creation with the divine. Uranus brings us growth through the initiation and the unexpected. And I know I said this last week, but I just want to say it again. Don't forget that the unexpected can also sometimes be winning the lottery. So don't think it's always bad. Uranus orbits the sun every 84 years. So it takes 84 years for Uranus to make an entire journey around the 64 hexagrams. Oops. Wow, I skipped over Uranus because I did Uranus for a whole hour last week. So if you're curious about Uranus, in the beginning of March, Uranus moves into Taurus, where it sits until 2025, speeding up the rate at which we manifest on the material plane. So again, if you think your thoughts create your reality now, wait till next year. And I just want to take a quick aside. I really want to reframe that statement because it's really not completely true. It's sort of quasi-true, but not totally true. The thing that's actually creating your reality is your heart. So let's start saying that because it's going to set us up nicely for next year. Your thoughts create your reality, but your heart amplifies what your thoughts create in your reality. It's really your heart that creates your reality. So the more we can connect with the essence of our hearts and the theme of compassion, the more what we create in this amplified, sped up way in the next 6-ish years, the more we'll see the advent of a compassionate world in form. And I'm ready. I don't know if you guys are. I am so ready. I'm really ready. And I'm eager to facilitate the creation of that on this planet. Neptune is the planet that represents our spiritual connection and our spiritual purpose. And I find for my clients, at least, there's really no difference between your spiritual purpose and your life purpose because I tend to be really fortunate enough to attract deeply intuitive, spiritually connected people who really want to anchor the energy of love on the planet. Thank you all. Neptune goes through all of the 64 gates every 165 years. Neptune starts the year in the gate 63, where it's been all year this year. The gate 63 is the gate of doubt and suspicion. And Neptune itself already has doubt and suspicion kind of mixed up into it. Neptune's like a veil. And whatever energy, whatever gate you have in your natal chart, in Neptune is in your natal, let me say that again. Whatever Neptune is lighting up in your natal chart, whatever gates those may be, sometimes those are themes that can feel really murky to you, like, oh, what is this? It's really veiled. It's literally the veil that we have to pierce to see the face of the divine, right? So we have this veiled energy with Neptune, and we have Neptune transiting the 63, which is the gate of doubt and confusion, or suspicion, doubt and suspicion. So we've really been wrestling all year. And again, you don't have to look very far, right? We've really been wrestling with, what do I trust? What's true? Who's on the up and up? What, you know, what's actually real? What's not? And we've had a lot of confusion about that in our collective, right? And it's really left us, some of us, really reeling, like, what do I trust? Who do I trust? What's real? What's not? What's fake news? What's not fake news? And certainly the purpose of Neptune transiting in this energy has been to cause us to have to stop looking out here for the answers and start looking in here for the answers. We've been invited to go within, to discover for ourselves and to learn to trust ourselves and our own gut about what's true and what's not. Neptune makes a brief visit to the gate 22nd, to the gate 22 on March 30th, moving back to the gate 63 on September 22. So we get a little bit of respite from this in the middle of the year, moving to the gate 22, which is really one of my favorite gates. In fact, I like it so much I have it tattooed on my arm. The gate 22 is the gate of grace. And really what grace says is that when you stay in a place of trust and alignment with Source, and you work to consciously harness your connection to Source, and you cultivate that, and you trust that, then when you stay in that state of grace, of knowing that even if you don't know what it's going to look like, even if you don't know how it's going to unfold, even if in the moment things look really insane, gate 22 says trust, let go, and know that as long as you stay connected to Source, you will be given everything you need to make this world an abundant place, both for yourselves and for the world. So we have this little respite in the middle here where we're going to be invited to go, okay, it's looking crazy. I don't know what's going on, but I trust. And we move back into the 63 in September, hopefully with a deeper connection of trust in ourselves, trust in what we know is truth, trust in Source, and we take that suspicion and that doubt and we turn it as an opportunity to open up into the question of what else is possible? What else can we create? How else can we change the face of what this reality looks like right now? And we begin to deepen our understanding of how this energy is working with us. Pluto takes Pluto 248 years to go through all of the hexagrams. So as you can imagine, it's a very slow moving planet, and sometimes we don't see it move at all year long. Next year though, Pluto moves from the gate 54 to the gate 61 on January 6th. If you've been paying attention and maybe writing down all these gates, you'll start to see that we're playing with a really small handful of gates all year round. And the 61 and the 54 are both two gates that we are doing cycles within cycles with all throughout the year. So the gate 54, where Pluto has been playing this year, has been bringing us the opportunity to connect deeper to Source. There's a theme there. I hope you're paying attention. And moving to the gate 61, which opens us up to deepening our understanding of the mystical world, deepens our connection to Source, deepens our musings and our wonderings about the divine plan versus the human plan. So as we go into that deeper, more mystical awareness, we are expanding our potential for connection with Source. We are expanding our potential for spiritual understandings so that we can use our connection to Source as the source of our power, as the source of our abundance, as the source of the answers facing to the challenges facing humanity today. So I hope that you, I want to get out of here for just a second. Hang on a second. The slides are moving crazy. I want to just say this because I think if you were going to summarize all this, because this was a lot, I would summarize this very simply. Next year, get your story straight. Make sure the narratives you're telling about who you are true and that they encompass the expansive creative nature of the truth of who you are. Number 2, make sure that the number one thing that you grow next year is your connection to source. We do need, especially with this Uranus and Taurus position, structure, discipline, and consistency. And that's not something that comes to many of us naturally, especially when it comes to having some kind of a practice. And I'm not saying you have to be so rigid and so strict that at 5 o'clock every morning you're in your meditation pillow. But I do say this year you may not have so much wiggle room. And that if you want to have a really awesome year, you've got to learn to create beyond your human capacity, beyond what you can do. And instead of pushing with your sheer will, learn to connect more deeply so that you can use divine will and make whatever you do in the human form a collaboration between you and the divine, so that you are serving the divine and you're allowing the divine ultimately to also serve you. That's my takeaway for 2019. Tell a true story and get connected to God or source or the quantum field or whatever you want to call it. And do that consistently and consciously. We have a grand sweep at the beginning of the first 3 months of the year. We have a really kind of last ditch opportunity to clear all the stuff. It's not like that won't go away later on, but you have a really lovely opportunity at the beginning of the year to clear away everything that might be keeping you from stepping into the true story of who you really are. And you deserve to be telling that story. You deserve to be taking all those places where you've experienced pain or trauma or anything that's kept you less than who you really are. You deserve to be able to transform that into your power, to not let that hold you back, to take the lessons and the blessings from the past, turn them into something of value, and move forward in an amplified, expanded expression of the truth of who you are. And that's what the planets support us in doing next year. So I have one last thing I just want to share with you guys. If you want support and help, if you want partnership and collaboration in really working with the energy of next year, I do want to invite you, first of all, if you want the mini version and you think you just want to get by with doing this on your own, go get the 2019 Human Design Evolution Guide. It is available on our website, quantumalignmentsystem.com. I just got a couple new boxes of books in because we sold out the first couple of boxes. And if you want more help, more support, please join me for my brand new program, Quantum Activation 2019. I do a program at the beginning of every year about the celestial weather and how you can make the most out of the year. This year, because I think this year is so important, I created a 3-month program for you. You're going to be getting 16 short home study videos that give you really beautiful, comprehensive, practical lessons for each of those 16 weeks. You'll get 1 video a week. In addition to that, you'll get 4 live 2-hour Q&A group coaching sessions every week in January. So we start the new year off with training wheels and connection. And you get to be part of a really powerful community of like-minded people. In fact, if you've already signed up, a couple of you already signed up last week and a couple weeks before, you'll see in our Facebook group, we've already started connecting and making connections. It's really cool to watch. So this is a powerful program designed to really help you, particularly in the first 3 months of next year, get stuff cleared out, get clear about who you are, tell the true story of who you are, and deepen your connection to source. And the techniques that we use and what I'm going to teach you to do isn't only going to be rooted in human design, it's actually rooted in human design, it's going to be rooted in neuroscience, it's going to be rooted in the science of motivation, and we're going to not only be changing the story you tell with your mouth, we're actually literally going to be using techniques that change your DNA and your epigenetic programming. You're going to get all kinds of support, you're going to learn how to tap into vitality, you're going to get community, you're going to learn how to deepen your connection to source and get your magic mojo going, you're going to learn how to wake up your true creative power. There's a whole program, there's a whole module in here about discovering through the chart your soul and your life purpose so that what you're creating is in alignment with who you really are so that you can do what you came here to do and be who you came here to be. And Kristen's going to post below the registration link if you want to register for the 2019 Quantum Activation Program. And if you are interested, if you love the idea of the program and you'd like to share it, we also have an affiliate program. There is a $97 commission for any sale that you make, so you could sell 2 and come for free because you will have earned your tuition right there. Also, for every quantum activation program that we sell, we are giving away a scholarship. I do not want this information to be exclusive. So we do have scholarships available. And Kristen, do you want to tell them what they need to do to get a scholarship or to apply for a scholarship?
Yes, please email Karen@joyfulmission.com, or if you have a Yahoo account, you can email us at humandesigneveryone@yahoo.com and put in the subject scholarship, and I will send you the information in order to qualify for the scholarship.
So yeah, and we have a lot of scholarships. So please, if you want to come and you are not financially able to do that, let us, reach out to us. We want to make sure everybody gets a chance to be here. So we have questions, Kristen, or comments, or anything you want to share coming up?
Okay, so we have a few comments. David says, hello, Karen. Thank you for always being there for us. Martha says, this is so great. It's going to be fun to spend more time researching the gates and the meanings.
Cool. Yay, Martha.
Melissa says, thank you, Karen, for all the energy you put out there to help all of us. XOXO. And Martha says, ditto what Melissa said. Oh, and here we have a question.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Karen. I have Mercury and Saturn retrograde in my natal chart. How do I experience the retro phases of these planets during the year, especially the retrograde Mercury?
So I think, and I apologize, I meant to get back to that question because I think you posted that last week, because I've been thinking about that a lot too. I was also born on a Mercury retrograde, and traditional astrology teaches that when you're born on a Mercury retrograde, you're not as affected by it. I think that's bunk. I die every Mercury retrograde. Kristen knows it's true. Like, we cringe in fear about Mercury retrograde, although this last one wasn't too bad. So, I am not an astrologer. I just know a little bit enough about astrology to be kind of dangerous. I don't really know how to answer that. I can certainly ask some of our astrology experts that we consult with, like Rebecca Hansen or Gloria Constantine, and see if I can get an answer. So let me go on a journey and try to investigate that and come back to you. I know there's sort of a standard astrology answer. I would say that in my experience, human design kind of breaks a lot of those astrology rules. So I would just say, look at the gates that are being impacted by the retrograde cycle and just work with them consciously. Just really, like our last retrograde cycle, we were playing with the gate 9, the 5, the 34, the 14. So we were really exploring the nature of power and money and habits and focus during this past Mercury retrograde. So, all right, good. Good. Also, retrograde in general, maybe when maybe I'll get Rebecca to do that one, or Gloria to do that one. I am hesitant to talk about astrological concepts because I really am not an astrologer at all. I like human design, but I start to feel stupid when I start talking about astrology, that kind of stuff. So good. Other questions?
No more questions, just more. I love your hair and makeup today, Karen. Hashtag beautiful hearts. Thank you.
I'm overcompensating for the fact that I'm stuck in this chair because I threw my back out this week. So I thought I better look good because I feel like crap. So thank you for that. Made my day. So good. Is that
awesome.
It?
That's
awesome. All right. So yeah. Kristen, thank you for always being there for me. Hey, you guys don't know this yet, but Kristen's launching into a new career next year.
Yeah.
It's not really newish. She's not new. She's been doing it, but Kristen's going to start in January. She's going to start doing a weekly show here on the Human Design page that's going to be all about human design and parenting and human design and education. So stay tuned because she's got incredible information. If you've ever been to any of Kristen's classes, she's a great teacher. She's a phenomenally wise mom, phenomenally just she knows her stuff in and out. She's just phenomenal in every way that I can think of describing. So January, we start talking about human design and parenting and human design and education and human design and relationships. So we really wanted to add that component, and Kristen's going to pick up on that. And then starting in March of next year, for those of you who want to learn how to become human design family coaches, Kristen is going to begin, she's going to start a very important 9-month training where she's going to train people to use human design as family coaches with parents and educators. So stay tuned. We have big stuff coming up next year. Right, Kristen?
Too.
And she said, so, okay, I'll say, right, Karen, good. Okay, awesome. All right, you guys, I will not talk to you again until New Year. Is that right?
We actually, Karen, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, we actually have a special guest host for the 28th of December,
Cool.
Tracy Ko.
Yes, Tracy Ko from China. So she will be, and Tracy's been here before and you guys loved her. So Tracy will be here on the 28th. So that means next week I'm still here. I'm still here next week, actually. Yeah. Yes. So I'll see you guys next week. So send me any ideas that you have, things you want to talk about, and we'll meet again next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.